you know wrestling never stops? Even if you quit watching Raw and SmackDown, they just keep on rolling week after week with no actual end goal in sight. It's a case of deciding where we're going, getting there, and then just picking a new direction. It is kinda terrifying when you think about it. It also means that sometimes characters have to leave within the story because that's just life. It's not like Hulk Hogan could have kept it going since 1987, even though boy howdy he would have tried. The natural progression of things dictates that sooner or later you're gonna need a reason for taking a performer off TV, and as I'm sure you've already guessed or already know, some are absolute bonkers. I'm Simon from What Culture, remember to subscribe, and this is the 10 best ever reasons for wrestling storyline exits. Number 10, Mr. McMahon goes off to be the genetic jackhammer. Mr. McMahon didn't leave to finish a nice babyface story arc or get some comeuppance thrown his way for being an asshole heel. Nope. Vince left in 2000 to tend to his wife Linda. Apparently touched about how dedicated his doting wife had been, McMahon told us that he was headed home to give his spouse some lovin', be that tenderly care or a spot of rough and ready action. I don't even want to think what that entails, but only Vinny knows, and after revealing this on the 26th of June Raw, I assumed he went off to do just that. It was here where he also proclaimed himself the genetic jackhammer, a term that has followed him around ever since. If you've ever wanted to envision what all this looks like, I guess this is your chance. What a lovely thing it must be. If McMahon had popped out another child in 2000, they would be at an age now where they could wrestle. I can't even imagine what that would have looked like. We've already got way too much Shane McMahon. Number 9, Mr. McMahon explodes. The best thing about Vince deciding a great way to write himself off TV was to kill himself in an exploding limo is that he forgot to clue up his investors. When news spread, it saw a drop in WWE stock price and a lot of work after the fact, I would imagine. Even Donald Trump was concerned about the man's head he shaved. The whole angle was an absolute bust too. For starters, it was canned within weeks after the horrendous Benoit murders, and then the guy who was meant to be behind it all, Kennedy, ran foul of the promotion and was out the door. That is quite the shift. Stemming from a 2007 interview where Kennedy had said he only used performance-enhancing drugs on the indie scene, as he would never betray WWE in that way, he was then caught up in the signature pharmacy scandal about 3 minutes later. Whoops. Included here just for the sheer lunacy and balls by McMahon. It's something we still talk about, but for the wrong reasons. Number 8, Paul Bearer is a real dead man. When I say best in terms of the title of this list, I also mean bizarre and funny. Now let's remember that Paul Bearer was just the manager of The Undertaker. He didn't have any supernatural powers, he couldn't make an arena go dark, no lightning. Bearer controlled the magical urn, but it was made clear time and time again he was just a man. And yet somehow, he was still able to bring himself back to life after storyline death. Killed off by The Undertaker at the Great American Bash in 2004, who buried him in cement to prove he wasn't weak. Don't worry about it doesn't make any sense. The idea was that the Phenom didn't need him anymore. He was better, stronger, bigger. Well, just tell Paul Bearer that then. I don't think you needed to send him to his final resting place, even though you didn't. Why? Because in 2010, Paul was just back on television. I mean, he was mad at Taker, which tied in, but there was also this huge plot hole about why he wasn't dead. It was never explained. Number 7, Dude Love embraces the hate. Mick Foley's 3 faces allowed him to shift seamlessly from one to the next and maybe even give him more longevity as a result. Just as you were getting tired of Mankind, he would be Cactus Jack, and when that was running short, he was Dude Love. It was like Wrestler Lottery. It was in 1998 when the Dude arrived on the scene for the first time, which probably raised the most eyebrows. Whereas Mankind was a tortured soul who hated the world and Cactus Jack was a crazy SOB, Dude Love was essentially Mick Foley's vision of what Vince McMahon would want him to embody in order to become a star. I guess it kind of worked, because that persona was teamed up with McMahon as he embarked on a heel run against Stone Cold Steve Austin. When it had failed after they clashed over the edge though, it was Mankind who crept back into the picture as Foley, within the narrative, wanted to punish the world who had punished him by rejecting his fun-loving, colourful character. That is really very good and also very deep. He didn't just switch back because why the hell not? It was weaved into every inch of the plot and was another tick box as to why Mick Foley was kicking all the ass and taking all the names. He never did anything without a serious reason. Number 6, Batista just quits. That sounds rubbish on paper. A wrestler is gonna leave, so he just quits on TV and then yeah, he leaves. And you're right, that would suck, but with Batista it was given the extra oomph it needed. Following a 3-match war with John Cena in 2010, which was far more fun than people give it credit for, the most interesting aspect was that Big Dave lost all of them. Their last clash at Over the Limit finished with a bang too, as Cena threw Batista from the roof of a car through the stage. Somehow the animal survived, although just barely. Wheeling himself out on Raw the next night to sell his injuries, Batista demanded legal action be taken against his rival for this assault. When it wasn't forthcoming, he threw his toys at the pram and he quit. It was a well-delivered promo anyway, but seeing someone of Dave's size act like a child was juxtaposing at its best. You both hated and pitied the man. There was more to this, however, thanks to the angle in the background. Cena and Batista had been pitched as the two poster boys of the ruthless aggression era. There could only ever be one overall hero though, and that nod went to Cena, but Batista was a large reason for that. He accepted his role as a close number 2, and he played it out perfectly here. If you want it broken right down with a little bit of poetry, while Batista quit, Cena never gave up. That is pretty good. Number 5, WWE's troubling question. Do you want Ric Flair to retire? Somewhat funny now knowing what would come next. When Vince McMahon asked this question in the late 2000s, I'm not sure whether fans knew exactly where we were about to go. By 2007, the Nature Boy was not the performer he once was, because of course not. Father Time waits for no man, and as much as Flair may have wanted to fight, it's a war nobody wins. Wanting to tie this up in a fashion such a career deserved, WWE put into place a storyline to bring a close to the career of one of the best ever, and it was excellent. Saying a single loss would bring about the end, Rick fought all the way through to WrestleMania 24 when he found himself face to face with Shawn Michaels. A wonderful build meant the emotion was there even before the bell rung, and the moment HBK apologized to his hero before kicking him in the jaw, fans everywhere just burst into tears. He did indeed lose, and that was the end, but my word, it was an amazing way to write someone out of the narrative. Of course, Flair wasn't properly done, but that is a different tale. At least for a few months, the sanctity of retirement had some sense of meaning. Number 4, Perfect gets rid of Flair. The tandem of Mr. Perfect and Ric Flair was sublime. Put together in order to allow Perfect to recover from various injuries, not only did they have great chemistry, but seeing Kurt Hennig back up the Nature Boy just made him feel even more legit. Go and watch their post-Rumble promo from 1992 after Flair has won the world title. Their smug grins is all you need as proof that this was genius. Held together wonderfully thanks to Bobby Heenan, it was also the brain that served as their undoing. Driving a wedge between them, it all built to a loser leaves town match, which in reality existed to send Flair on his way back to WCW. Using his exit in the right way though, WWE played off the team's prior relationship with respect and poise, creating a situation where fans were desperate to not only see Perfect win, but cheer him after the fact. Surely set up a lovely Twilight Years babyface run for one of the best. That didn't really work like that, but still, this was easy to buy into with a satisfying payoff and saw Flair leave the company in the best possible light. He had done everything he could as well as lose to the promotion's chosen one. Only that happened more. Number 3, the redemption of Randy Savage. It's quite amazing to think how invested we were in the story between the Macho Man and Miss Elizabeth. You can't even have a relationship angle today without fans flipping out, but in the late 80s and early 90s it was as important as the world title itself. If you don't believe that, just go and watch their reunion at WrestleMania 7. You've never felt so good in your life seeing two people you don't know getting back together. While there was a lot to the story, including everything that happened with Hulk Hogan and the Mega Powers imploding, the real joy was what it meant on a wider scale. The reason Randy Savage had been insufferable for 2 years is because he was a better man when he was with his soulmate. When that fell apart, he too went off the rails, and that manifested itself in and out the ring. He became an asshole. This was helped on by the exceptional performance by Liz, who played her role to a T. Couldn't help but feel for her. And when they finally buried the hatchet on the biggest stage, you felt like you'd won the lottery. And yeah, this was more of a behavior trait exiting the story, but still, it was done majestically and really is something WWE should be looking at today. Some tales don't age. Number 2, CM Punk quits Ring of Honor to keep Ring of Honor strong. This was so good it's quite astonishing it happened to begin with. It's pro wrestling at its finest while also being utterly fresh and interesting. Maybe that's why it was one of a kind. In 2006 though, CM Punk was Ring of Honor. Fans adored him and believed in his character so much that they thought he would head to WWE, his next destination, and change it for the better. That's why when he won the ROH World Championship on his way out of the promotion, nobody cared. This was their guy and he deserved that kind of send-off. So when he turned on the audience as soon as he had won the title, it sent everybody loopy. Using their momentum to get back to the top and then telling the crowd they were everything wrong with the wrestling business, he also signed his WWE contract using the Ring of Honor Championship as a table to do so. Couldn't have been more disrespectful. It was perfect, however, as not only did Punk go out the way he came in, but it re-established that WWE was the place of all evil, whereas ROH was all that was good in the world. That is a pretty tough thing to pull off with the most beloved guy in the company, but it's why this was a moment in history we shouldn't soon forget. Number 1, the ultimate send-off. If you missed out on the relationship between Bobby Heenan and Gorilla Monsoon, then you genuinely missed out on one of the best aspects of WWE TV ever. Few had chemistry like these two, and the swipes they would take at each other were as hilarious as they were dumb. For as much as announcers are there to get the talent over, it was worth tuning into the program for these two alone. You won't hear a bad word about them. Well, unless you were Monsoon within the storyline. Wound up by the brain's antics as his partner would never let up, this would extend all the way to being in the ring with Vince McMahon and Heenan calling Gorilla an ape. On one night in 1993, it proved to be the final straw. With the changing of the guard behind the scenes, the iconic duo were going on their separate ways, and to make that clear to the audience, WWE had Monsoon march to the squared circle, grab Heenan by his neck, drag him all the way backstage, and throw him out the door. It was like Uncle Phil and Jazzy Jeff. It's quite sad to watch when you know it's an end of an era, especially so today given both have passed on. Still, this was a great way to say goodbye, and it always will be. Know of any other awesome reasons for wrestling storyline exits? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Then head over to WhatCulture.com and read yourself some articles like this one, and follow What Culture on Twitter at WhatCultureWWE. My name is Simon from What Culture, and I don't have a good exit, I'll just say goodbye.